All right, so let's get this presentation started. So my name is Tatario Ganti. This is my macro level planning presentation. I am going to share my screen. Perfect. Okay. So this is a macro intervention plan for reducing youth violence. I know that we didn't have to necessarily pick a target population, but I wanted to go ahead and pick that target population um, of reducing youth and trying to reduce youth violence in the great city of Memphis, Tennessee. Um, so a brief introduction to the issue. Memphis is seeing rising violent crime with youth aged 16 to 24 identified as the most at risk group that you can see by a statistic from Fox 13 Memphis. It is also labeled Memphis is also labeled the most dangerous in Shelby County. Um, yeah, in the most dangerous in Shelby County. And then the impact on the community violent crime disproportionately affects vulnerable communities, such as Black and brown folks, the BIPOC community causing trauma, economic strain, and a breakdown of social structures that we also know are some of the byproducts of some of the crime that we see. The Memphis Youth Violence Prevention Plan, developed as part of an operation of Say Community, acknowledged the rising youth violence issue in 2009. More than 54% of those arrested for committing a violent crime in Memphis were 24 years of age or younger. This presentation just outlines strategies for reducing youth violence through macro level interventions. So we're looking at, like I said, youth. Young adults often facing those systemic barriers such as poverty, unemployment, and limited access to education or support services. Why this population, this age group is at the highest risk for being involved in violent crimes, either as victims or perpetrators. We need to put on our cultural humility glasses when dealing with approaching this intervention to youth violence in our city. The intervention will consider the historical and systemic inequalities that contribute to the violence in these communities, ensuring respectful and culturally sensitive approaches. My role as a social work practitioner focuses on community level change that promotes safety and empowerment. Program example would be like our Memphis Allies program that is launched by Youth Villages, who also does a lot of work with like mental health services and things like that in the city. And then it identifies and serves high-risk youth involved in gun violence ages 12 to 35, which aligns with my target population of ages 16 to 24. Um, the data and context, local crime rates, like I said, Memphis has one of the highest per capita violent crime rates in the United States of America. What a jarring statistic. Recent data says since 2019, homicides in Memphis have increased by 81% in 2022. There were 302 homicides with the lives taken every 29 hours. And then youth crime, youth age 16 to 24 account for a significant portion of violent crimes, including homicides and aggravated assaults. Looking at also the high rates of poverty, unemployment, and limited education opportunities correlate with the increased violence. The impact on young people shows that many young people lack positive outlets, job trainings, or role models, which contributes to gang involvement, and criminal activity. There's just not enough outlets and stuff for them to do, and of course, a plethora of other issues as well. Successful programs, we can look at Ceasefire and Cure Violence. Um, Ceasefire Chicago reduced gun violence to a community-led public health approach, and then train the Cure Violence program, train community members to mediate conflicts before they escalated to violence, reducing shootings in targeted areas. And I guess that common thread we see there is that just community-led, community approach to intervention there. And what we can learn is that early intervention, of course, prevention is better than intervention, especially involved with trusted community members, is key to success. Evidence-based local programs. The Violence Intervention Program in Memphis provides proactive, holistic supports to individuals affected by violence. So there's already two programs that sort of deals with this sort of issue. Since its inception in fall 22, 91% of participants have not reoffended. Evidence-based frameworks. We have the public health model, which treats violence as a disease that can be prevented through community intervention. And then a restorative justice model focuses on healing and rebuilding relationships rather than punishment. So how can we apply this in Memphis? Of course we can. These frameworks can be adapted to focus on employment, mentorship, and conflict resolution for Memphis youth. Theoretical perspectives that we might want to look at here are the restorative justice, social control theory, social learning theory, just being able to see, just a better outlook on people, just looking at people that are in the community that can allow you to do better based on what you observe, and then just the restorative justice model, just emphasizing just repairing their home, rebuilding relationships, which can produce recidivism, excuse me, and promote community healing. Community-based violence prevention programs is the macro intervention that I am proposing. So just the job training, mentorship, mental health supports that need to be in place. And then that local alignment with the Memphis Youth Violence Prevention Plan, which includes strategies that align with my proposed interventions, such as expanded case management and deploying multi-agency intervention teams to support youth at high risk for committing violence. Additionally, it focuses on increased education, employment, and career development. And then the stakeholders, local businesses, schools, law enforcement, and community leaders, local business owners to engage, community leaders in churches, schools, law enforcement, nonprofit agencies, community tensions and opportunities. Tensions exist due to lack of trust, but strong community engagement can build these relationships. Promises. So, what is our target for change? Reducing violence and offering youth constructive alternatives to crime. What does positive change look like? A decrease in crime rates, right? Like that's our goal, increase job placement and improve school attendance. How our voices being heard through community forums, youth councils, and stakeholder meetings, and even I would even, reckon to say social media as well. And then why the strategy by addressing root causes such as lack of employment trauma and peer influence youth would be less likely to engage in violent behavior. So just addressing their root cause. And then there's a program example there of Memphis Allies again, with their Switch program, which is a support with intention to create hope. Community strengths, we know there's strong networks of community organizations already doing this work, and in the grassroots activism in churches that have established trust with these young people already, so that way we can get our work up and going. And then our resources needed are funding. Of course, you always need money, access to community spaces, collaboration is all needed to make this work. Goals and objectives: reduce youth violence in target neighborhoods by 25% in 3 years, to provide job training to at least 100 young adults within the first year, and increase community trust and engagement with law enforcement, because we know how people don't really trust systems and things like that. Measuring success, much like our the VIP program that I've mentioned a couple of times, it tracks the data of interventions over time and the cuts of notifications, and participants helped and referred to services, things like that. And then the sustainability, just making sure that we establish those long-term partnerships with businesses and organizations in the community, so that we can also be connected to funding as well. Challenges: lack of funding, community resistance, like the distrusting systems, political barriers, just navigating the landscape of the politics in Memphis. Solutions: building that trust, building partnerships, conducting community engagement campaigns, and just getting out there with the people. Why this matters? It matters because it's a critical juncture in addressing violence crisis, especially among young adults. Implementing a comprehensive violence prevention program can save lives, reduce crime, and create a more equitable future for youth. Our program is committed to reducing youth violence by providing job training, mentorship, and mental health support to at-risk adults in Memphis. With your partnership, we can create a safer, stronger community. Thank you.